The Harga commune is fictional. The brutal rituals made up. But the movie does pull from real Swedish folklore, specifically an old story about what happens when you dance with the devil. Literally. The festival is called Horgalotten, which roughly translates to the hare's tune or the devil's fiddle, and it goes a little something like this. One Saturday evening in the summer, a group of young people gather for a party. It's warm, it's festive, everyone's having a great time. They eat, drink, and most importantly, they dance. The musicians play folk tunes late into the night. People are spinning and laughing, completely caught up in the celebration. But as midnight approaches, most of the partygoers start heading home. The musicians pack up their instruments. The more sensible guests call it a night. Except for a few. There's always that group, right? The ones who aren't ready for the party to end. They're still full of energy and still want to keep dancing. And that's when he shows up. A stranger appears, a fiddle player they've never seen before. He's dressed nice and seems really confident. So when he offers to continue playing and keep the party going, everyone's thrilled. But here's the thing. If they looked down, they would have noticed something strange about this mysterious musician. He has hooves instead of feet. Yup, they just made a deal with the devil. And it turns out he's pretty good on that fiddle. The most enchanting music any of them have ever heard. The kind of melody you can't resist. So they dance and dance and dance. They spin faster and faster, unable to stop. The music has them completely under its spell. Their feet move on their own. They're exhausted, gasping for air, but they can't quit. The devil keeps playing. The sun rises, and still they dance. Finally, the church bells ring on Sunday morning. When people come to check on the group, they find a horrifying scene. The only thing left of the dancers is their heads, which are rolling around on the floor in time to the music. Now, there are totally different versions of this story. In some, the dancers turn to stone. In others, they simply dance until they die of exhaustion. In one version, the devil is a handsome young man who charms his way into the party. In another, he's an old fiddler who seems harmless until it's too late. Some people say the dancers' bodies disappeared entirely, leaving only their heads. Others think their corpses were found still twitching to the rhythm of the music no one else could hear. The details change, but the message is the same. Don't let yourself get so caught up in the celebration that you lose control. These kinds of stories were incredibly common in Scandinavia during the 16th and 17th centuries. Midsommar in particular was seen as a dangerous time. It's the summer solstice, the longest day of the year when the sun barely sets. In Scandinavian folklore, this is when the boundary between the natural and the supernatural world is the thinnest. Spirits could cross over more easily. Magic was more powerful, and the devil was always looking for souls to claim. Well, people really leaned into these old pagan beliefs. It made for some wild midsummer celebrations, lots of dancing, drinking, and shenanigans that lasted all night. But not everyone was a fan. The Christian church, which was pretty popular in Sweden by then, did not like this. They saw these pagan traditions as dangerous and sinful. So parents and priests told stories like Horgalotten to keep young people in line during midsummer celebrations. Don't stay out too late. Don't dance with strangers. Don't lose yourself in the revelry, because if you do, you might not come back. Midsommar taps into this exact fear. Danny and the other visitors get swept up in the commune's rituals. The dancing, the drugs, the communal experiences, it all pulls them deeper and deeper. And just like in Horgalotten, by the time they realize what's happening, it's already too late. But this idea of shared delusions, of literally dancing yourself to death, isn't just folklore. In a city in France, it actually happened. In July 1518, something odd happened in Strasbourg, France. A woman named Frau Trophea stepped into the street and started dancing, right there in the middle of the road, all by herself. At first, people probably thought she was drunk. In New York, that's normal. But here's the thing, she didn't stop. She danced for hours, then days. She actually danced so hard and for so long that her feet began to bleed. She danced until she collapsed from exhaustion. And when she regained consciousness, she just got up and kept going. Witnesses said she looked terrified, like she wanted to stop but couldn't. She reportedly begged onlookers for help while her body kept moving. These weren't graceful, joyous movements. This was frantic, desperate, uncontrollable motion. Weird, right? But it gets weirder. Within a week, around 34 other people joined her. A month later, the number had swelled to around 400 people, all seized by this uncontrollable urge to dance. They couldn't stop. Even when they were exhausted, even when their feet were bloody and swollen, they kept moving. Some danced until they literally died from heart attacks, strokes, or sheer exhaustion. The authorities were baffled. This wasn't normal. This wasn't explained. So what did they do? They called in musicians. They called in musicians? What? I know, that seems counterintuitive, right? People are dancing themselves to death, so you bring in more music? But at the time, there was a theory that the dancing sickness was caused by hot blood. Dancing plagues were apparently common enough in medieval Europe that physicians had actually started protocols for treating them. The thinking was that if you let people dance it out of their system, they'll eventually tire themselves out and return to normal. Well, it didn't work. The authorities set up stages and hired professional musicians and dancers. People were hired to help prop up the exhausted dancers. When they started to collapse, basically human crutches kept the dancing going. But instead of helping, it just made everything worse, and more people joined in. This went on for weeks. By some accounts, people were dying at the rate of around 15 per day at the peak of the outbreak.
If you're brave enough, subscribe now. Just search for @Crimehouse Studios on YouTube. And remember, reality is the real horror.